avoiding in your fantasy football draft. But before we get into anything, be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions or comments related to fantasy football, who you should draft, who you should avoid, be sure to put it in the comment section and I will answer it on the next video. Also, we do have a contest going on. Your chance to win a free 2021 draft kit. I'm only giving away a select few, but in each fantasy football video, at least the next few, I'm going to be giving away a clue or a question. The first person to give me the correct answer will be the one to win it. Once the draft kit is out and ready, I will send it to you via email. It will be printable. It will have my top 300 PPR rankings, my top 300 non-PPR rankings. We'll also have a list of bye weeks, sleepers. We'll have the works, whatever you need to be able to win your fantasy football league this year. So I'm looking forward to that. So be sure to stay tuned. Later on in the video, I will give a question. You do not know when I'm going to ask it. Sometimes I'm going to ask it at the beginning. Sometimes I'm going to ask it in the middle. Sometimes at the end. You do not know. So be sure to stay tuned and figure out how you can win a free 2021 draft kit. Without further ado, we are going to get into the topic of today's video, which is fantasy football busts in 2021. Every year, there's always several players, first, second round. A big key that I've heard people in my league, Stephen Poro, a guy who's here at the channel a lot, who comments a lot, has told me before, you can't win with just your first round pick, but you can lose your draft with your first round pick. Now, I will say that 2 years ago, I drafted Davante Adams in the first round, Joe Mixon in the first round. Season did not go good for me. Last year, I took Saquon Barkley in the first round, Joe Mixon in the second round, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the third round. However, I did win the league last year. It helped because I was able to trade for James Robinson. That helped as well. But the main idea is that in most scenarios, if you blow your first or second round pick, you're in trouble. So today we're going to help you avoid that situation. We'll look at mostly first and second round picks, but we'll also, once we get to the receivers and tight ends, we'll start looking at a couple guys, even in the middle to late round guys, that you should still be avoiding, guys that are more popular names, but I believe are getting a little bit too much love. But we're going to begin today with the quarterback position, and there's one quarterback that I want to talk about, and that is the guy holding out the unsatisfied Mr. Double-A Ron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is listed as the 6th QB on ESPN's rankings. He's rated 77th in their overall rankings right now. NFL.com has him at 97. 97 isn't quite as bad, but I really believe that Aaron Rodgers is not going to be playing in 2021 at this point because he's still not really in talks with Green Bay, doesn't really want to negotiate anything. I don't see Green Bay trading him. Brian Gutekunst does not want to move him. I'm just not sure. The situation is not good in Green Bay. He's going to probably miss a lot of training camp, if not all of it. Even if he comes back, he'll be a bit rusty at the beginning of the season. So I'm just going to shy away from Aaron Rodgers, especially if you like to go into it with only one quarterback. You can't go in and expect Aaron Rodgers to be your only quarterback. You better have somebody else. In the next upcoming video, we'll be talking about sleepers at the quarterback position, guys that are kind of going under the radar. So you'll want to make sure that you stay tuned to that. So if you do draft Aaron Rodgers, you make sure that you get one of those 5 guys that I'm going to be talking about then. But moving on to running backs, because running backs and receivers, those are the positions you're going to be drafting most in the first couple rounds. Most specifically running back, because there are so few bell cow running backs in this league today. We're going to begin with 2 guys that are getting a lot of love in the first round. The first guy is Alvin Kamara. And, Kamara, I've kind of been lukewarm on the past couple years, especially last year and stuff, and he kind of proved me wrong, especially towards the end of the year. I had him in one of my leagues, championship week, and he had that 160-game performance, which was fantastic. I ended up winning that league. But when you look at Kamara, look at the situation that New Orleans is in right now. It looks like Jameis Winston is going to be the starting quarterback. And if you know one thing about Jameis Winston, if you look at his time when he was in Tampa Bay, he did not check down to the to the running backs that often. Well, he didn't really check down to anybody. He didn't even check down to the receivers. He liked to throw it deep downfield. He took his chances. That's how he had the 30 touchdown, 30 interception season, which is still unbelievable in my mind, how you can throw 30 interceptions but still throw for 5,000 yards. It's just incredible. But he's not going to be checking it down a whole lot. He never has been one to throw it to the running backs. Drew Brees utilized the running backs a lot in the passing game, and that's where Alvin Kamara really makes himself worthy of a first-round pick. And, same thing, especially in PPR leagues, I definitely think you want to avoid him. Non-PPR, you could consider that he would still have a lot of volume, but I'm still not totally sold on Alvin Kamara yet, because I do believe they are going to be playing from behind more often, which means there'll be more passing. I also would not be surprised if Latavius Murray had a bigger role. We know how Sean Payton likes to use 2 running backs in an offense. So right now, I would avoid Alvin Kamara, at least in the top half of the first round. Like I said, he's 4th on NFL.com's rankings, 5th on ESPN. I would wait until you get to maybe pick 8 or 9. I'd be comfortable then, but he's not going to be there. He's going higher in pretty much all mock drafts I've been in. So don't pretty much just cross him off your radar. If I were you, I wouldn't pay any attention to Alvin Kamara, because it would not surprise me at all if he disappointed in 2021. Moving on to Saquon Barkley. Now, this is the player swap NFL and ESPN have. Of course, NFL.com has him at 5. ESPN has him at 4 in their rankings. And of course, like I said, I drafted Saquon Barkley last year. I like Saquon Barkley as a player. I mean, he's an athletic freak. You would think that, with all the investments the Giants have put into that offensive line and to gain extra receivers, this would be good for Saquon Barkley. But we've heard that he's going to be limited to start off the season. That is a big no for me. I'm not taking my chances again with Saquon Barkley. I got bit by it last year. I'm not buying it again this year. If he's limited at the beginning of the season, I don't want anything to do with him, and that's what it sounds like is going to be the case. So let's move on. After that is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, on ESPN, it's not quite as bad because he's listed as number 13 overall in their overall rankings. NFL.com has him at 7th in their rankings. Now, I will say that the standard for ESPN, or at least the rankings I have, were non-PPR. NFL is PPR, and Aaron Jones is going to have more value in PPR. Now, a lot of this does have to do with Aaron Rodgers, but I do not think Jordan Love is going to be a bad quarterback at all. And just kind of a teaser for my next video, Jordan Love is going to be one of my sleeper quarterbacks, a guy that, especially if you're in a dynasty league, I'd be willing to take a chance on. He has high upside. I don't think that this team is going to just plummet with Jordan Love as the quarterback. But I don't believe that Aaron Jones is going to be utilized as much in the passing game without Aaron Rodgers there. Plus, you also have to consider they just drafted Amari Rodgers, so he's going to be getting a little bit more of the underneath targets. Then you have A.J. Dillon, who they drafted in the 2nd round last year. Remember, Matt LaFleur was in Tennessee before he was hired as the head coach in Green Bay. Who's Tennessee's running back? Derrick Henry. Who is A.J. Dillon compared to more than anybody? Derrick Henry. Same size, nearly 250 pounds, an absolute bowling ball. I'm not saying A.J. Dillon's going to be a Derrick Henry. I was not a fan of him, to be honest, coming out of Boston College. I thought he had too much tread in the tires. I just wasn't a huge fan. However, he did look good at the end of last year in his limited opportunities that he had. So even with Jamaal Williams gone, I think A.J. Dillon is going to kind of be the 1B in that backfield this year, and Aaron Jones may kind of be a little bit of a fade this year. And that's how I would consider him this year. Maybe late 2nd round, that would be when I'd be comfortable considering him, especially if Aaron Rodgers comes back. Then that boosts his stock up a little bit more. But as of now, I wouldn't take him any higher than the late 2nd round, because I do believe there is a lot of bust potential with him. The last running back I want to get into is DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift, he's 29th on NFL.com, 22 on ESPN. There's only 2 factors that play into this. It has nothing to do with DeAndre Swift. It has to do that the Lions are going to be playing from behind in almost every single game. And 2, they did sign Jamaal Williams, and you may think, well, okay, we know what Jamaal Williams is at this point. He's, a backup, he may pick up some short yardage situations. All he's going to do is maybe replace what Adrian Peterson did for them a couple years previous. But I believe it was Anthony Lynn, offensive coordinator of the Lions, who said he's your typical A-back, the guy that is going to be the kind of power back, early down back. I'm not saying they're going to utilize him as the early down back and DeAndre Swift's just going to be a 3rd down back, but I do believe he's going to have a bigger role in this offense than what people think he will. And that's why I would avoid DeAndre Swift. Honestly, I would not take him higher than the 5th round at this point, because he's always going to be playing from behind. I've tried for years, okay, well, this guy could potentially have decent volume, so I'll take this guy in the middle rounds, or even late 3rd, early 4th round, and just hope that volume will carry me through. But when you're playing from behind, they're not going to be running the ball like they want to. So I am going to avoid DeAndre Swift at all costs this year. I believe he's going to be this year's big bust. We're halfway through. We're going to get to the wide receivers right now. And the first one, we've talked a lot about the Packers so far, and we're going to get to it again with Davante Adams. And I mentioned before, Jordan Love, I think he will be a good quarterback. But he still does not have the chemistry that Aaron Rodgers had with Davante Adams. That takes time. Usually when the backup quarterback comes in, sometimes the number 2 receiver will start off better than the number 1. I remember when Landry Jones was the quarterback of the Steelers when Ben Roethlisberger got injured back in like 2016, 2017 timeframe. Antonio Brown was not the one doing well with Landry Jones as the quarterback. It was Martavis Bryant and Marcus Wheaton, the number 2 and number 3 receivers. And I think it's going to be really similar here. You know, Jordan Love, of course, he's getting Team 1 reps now, so he's not necessarily going to be spending a whole lot of time with Amari Rodgers. But in past years, he's probably done more work with Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think those are the more likely guys he's going to target early on in the season. He'll probably target Davante Adams a lot, but I'm just not sure they're going to be in sync until middle of the season in the scenario that Aaron Rodgers does not play. So I would avoid Davante Adams in the first round. He's wide receiver 1 on most boards. I do not have him as my wide receiver 1. I'm not going to give too much information away, but I just because I don't want anyone in my leagues to be, stealing all my good advice. But I do not have him as my number 1 receiver. Plus, I'm not one to take running backs. I really don't like taking wide receivers in the first or second round because I like taking running backs early on because they are harder to find later on. But Amari Cooper is the next guy I want to get into. He's rated 44th on NFL.com and 33rd overall on ESPN. With CeeDee Lamb emerging, Michael Gallup still being there, we'll see what they have in Blake Jarwin at the tight end position. But I do believe they still want to run the ball with Ezekiel Elliott if this offensive line can stay healthy. Dak Prescott's coming off an injury. And, when you're looking, okay, he's going 3rd, 4th round, mostly 4th round range. Okay, you're expecting wide receiver 2. If you go running back heavy, you almost need fringe wide receiver 1 numbers from Amari Cooper. And I don't believe he gives that to you. I would much rather take a chance on Deontay Johnson in that spot, who could break out. I would much rather take a chance on Kenny Golladay, who's with a new quarterback, but I believe he's going to have high volume. So I would avoid Amari Cooper this year just because there are a lot of weapons in that offense. There's a lot of unknowns with Dak Prescott coming off of an injury. The offensive line kind of being back to normal, we think, but we don't know. Like, are they going to stay healthy? It's just hard to tell at this point. I would avoid Amari Cooper unless he falls to maybe 6th round, then maybe I would consider it. The next guy's a guy who I have on my bust list every year. He's my annual all-bust. He would be on my all-bust team every single year. And that's going to be Odell Beckham Jr. I do not understand why people continue to give this guy mid-round love. He does not do anything anymore. He's always been an overrated receiver. I've always thought that. And someone, seriously, if you're a Browns fan in the comment section, tell me, did the Browns really do better when he was active or when he was injured? The Browns had a better chemistry on offense when he was injured. Donovan Peoples-Jones was coming out of nowhere, and he was emerging as that number 2 receiver. Jarvis Landry was doing well with more volume. And this year, you should have 2 healthy tight ends in David Njoku and Austin Hooper, who was paid as the highest tight end at that time in the entire league. So I believe that his volume's not only going to go down, but he may lose his role entirely if Donovan Peoples-Jones continues to emerge. I said this when DPJ was coming out. He was the steal of the draft, and he could be a potential number 1 wide receiver down the line. He was not utilized well at Michigan. Jim Harbaugh did not utilize him well. Neither did any of the offensive coordinators that Michigan had during Peoples-Jones' time at Michigan. He is a stud, and I think he's going to start proving it this year. If you're in a dynasty league, take a chance on Donovan Peoples-Jones at the end of your drafts because I think he could pay off. But OBJ, he's 62nd on NFL.com, 48 on ESPN, which I think is absolutely outrageous. I would not take Odell Beckham unless he fell to maybe the 12th or 13th round, and I'm dead serious about that. There are many other guys. Jerry Jeudy, I would take a chance on. A lot of younger receivers. Michael Pittman. So many other guys. I could go on forever talking about guys that I could find reasons to take above Odell Beckham Jr. The last receiver is Brandin Cooks. Now, he's started to drop off a little bit. He's 81st on NFL.com, 52 on ESPN. He's listed as wide receiver 27. I think that's too high. I know that Houston's going to be playing from behind. They're going to be throwing a lot. but we don't know the quarterback situation. It could be Tyrod Taylor. It could be Davis Mills. I think they even brought in Jeff Driskel as well. So, we don't know what it's going to be. For his sake, for the Texans' sake, I hope Davis Mills gets a chance because I believe he has the best chance of being the future there, obviously. But I believe he does bring the most upside in terms of fantasy value. So, with Brandin Cooks, even with Davis Mills as the quarterback, I wouldn't take a chance on him. If you look at Mills this past year, the only main guys he targeted were guys that were tall. I mean, you're looking, his main target was Simi Fehoko, wide receiver, 6'4", 227 pounds. I don't even remember who drafted him. I want to say Dallas drafted him this year on day 3 in like the 5th round or something. I'd have to double check that. But he liked targeting the bigger receivers on the outside. Brandin Cooks is not that guy. So I believe if anyone emerges in this offense, not to keep bragging on my Michigan guys, but Nico Collins, another guy who I felt was not utilized well at Michigan, could be a breakout guy there. I would not touch Brandin Cooks unless he were to fall to about the 10th round range. Just not who I'm interested in this year. And then we're going to get to one tight end, and that was the guy who was my sleeper last year, who I was telling you guys got to take a chance on him, and it did pay off. But this year he's on my bust list, and that's Jonnu Smith. Now, he's going anywhere between tight end 9, tight end 15, anywhere in that range. If you can get him at tight end 15, I wouldn't really consider him a bust, but I would not want to go in with him as your starting tight end. I'm not sure Cam Newton's going to hold on to that starting job for long. He may at the beginning of the year, but I think Mac Jones will have that job by season's end. He's listed at 106 on NFL.com. ESPN has him at 120. He's anywhere in that range from, tight end 10, tight end 14, anywhere in that range. And I just really did not see the upside this year because of Hunter Henry being there. So they'll use a lot of 2 tight end sets, don't get me wrong. But I believe that's going to kind of cut his value, not quite in half, but it is going to take a lot of value away. They brought in Nelson Agholor and Kendrick Bourne at wide receiver. I believe N'Keal Harry is still there. They spent a first-round pick on him, so I'm sure they want to utilize him. I believe they also have the NC State guy, Jacoby Myers, that has shown flashes the past couple years. Plus, Mac Jones, I thought Miller Forrestall was a decent tight end at Alabama, but he didn't target him a whole lot in the passing game. He had a bunch of receivers to work with at Alabama, so I'm not going to say he was wrong to not target his receivers as much as he did. He had a stacked receiving core. But I haven't seen Mac Jones throw it to the tight end position enough to think that Jonnu Smith's volume is going to be enough, especially when he's only going to be, 1A in a 1A, 1B situation with Hunter Henry there. So, I'm going to avoid Jonnu Smith for that reason. I just don't think there's enough upside there. I would take a chance. I would be willing to spend a little bit higher pick on a Mark Andrews or TJ Hawkinson, to be quite honest, or I would wait and get a Tyler Higbee at the end of your draft, or an Anthony Firksker, the guy who took Jonnu Smith's place. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But those are my 10 biggest busts headed into the 2021 fantasy football season. Let me know whether you agree or disagree. Put your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you have any fantasy football questions or comments, put them in the comments section. But before we go, it is time to get to my question for you guys, for your chance to win the draft kit. And my question is, you're going to have to go and look up my article, BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, that I had come out, I believe it came out on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, which was June 23rd, I believe, June 23rd. I'll double check on that. But this past week, if you're viewing it, it will have been a couple days ago. Go look it up, Google it, whatever. It was a breakdown on Ahmad Gardner, 2021 NFL Draft Preview. Go find it on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. And the first one to tell me who I compared him to, his former NFL comparison, whoever I compared him to, the first one that can give me the correct answer in the comment section, I will give away a free draft kit to, and that will probably be ready at the end of July, early August. So be sure, if you get it right, give me your email, and I'll email you the PDFs to where you can print everything off, and I will give that to you for free. And I'm looking forward to this contest. I'll give a clue multiple times on multiple videos, so be sure to check out upcoming videos if you want a chance to win again. That's going to do it all for today. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And who did I compare Ahmad Gardner to? A potential 2022 NFL draft prospect. Give me the answer in the comment section, and you'll win a free draft kit. We'll see you next time.